Well, folks, in today's video, we're going to be working on something quite a bit different than usual. This right here is an early production Lionel GG1, and I found this thing a couple of years ago while I was on vacation in Maine. It was being sold at an antique store in untested condition, so I decided to take a little bit of a gamble on it, and I brought it home. Unfortunately, after testing it, it turned out to not be in working order. The headlight comes on, and you can hear some humming from the motor, but that's about all she wrote. So I'm guessing we either have a bad coil or the drive is seized. Hopefully a seized drive, because that's usually fixable. But either way, all is not lost, because after I purchased it, a ton of people pointed out that this is actually a very early production model. So you can see it's number 2332. As it would turn out, 2332 was only made from late 1947 to early 1950, meaning this locomotive is somewhere between 75 and 78 years old. And these earlier ones apparently were known for having more issues, but they are somewhat rare, so that's kind of cool. Anyways, I'll take it over to the track so I can show you all what it's currently doing, and then we'll try to disassemble it and see if we can't make it work again. So here's where things currently stand with it. If we give it a little bit of power, you can see the headlight comes on, you can hear some buzzing from the motor. But even if you jiggle it on the track, nothing happens. And if you shift to the E unit, it's pretty much the exact same story, but without the buzzing sound from the E unit. So clearly something is not quite right there. So let's take it over to the workbench and see if we can figure out what's up. So just to be completely clear, I've never worked on one of these Lionel GG1s before, so I'm not entirely sure what to expect, but I figure we'll just start removing screws until something starts to fall apart. I do find it kind of cool working on something from this era, though, because it's just like it has so much history. I just think it's fascinating to imagine this thing rolling off a production line all those years ago and then ending up at some train store. You know, maybe it was bought as like a Christmas present or a birthday gift or anything. Like, this probably made somebody's day at one point. Over those years, you know, you don't know how many times it might have passed hands and made all sorts of other good memories. I wonder if that screw right there is important. I'm gonna go get a bigger screwdriver in an effort not to strip that. See if this guy has what it takes. Yeah, no problem. Look at that. Oh, yeah, there we go. Wow, look at all this. This is so cool. I think the first thing I want to do is see if we can rotate the motor over manually. I'm going to go ahead and take an educated guess and say that if we remove the screws on either side and these ones up top, this will hopefully slide out. Oh, yeah, lo and behold, it's seized. So I think the best thing to do at this point would probably be to remove these two screws, open up the top of the motor, release the brushes, clean everything, reassemble it, and then see if the motor is still good. Hopefully no one's burned it out. This doesn't actually look that dirty. Let's see if I can remove this thing without losing the part. Oh, yep. Get those bearings in here before I go spilling them all over the table. Well, those bearings out. I'm just going to spray a little bit of penetrating oil in there, and we'll let that soak in for about a half hour, because I need to go get a haircut. Hopefully by the time I return, more than just that motor is fixed. Alright, I'm back. I'll actually be able to see what I'm doing now. Let's find out how that oil did. Not much. I'm going to try feeding this a little bit more oil. And this one's really putting up a fight. There we go. Let's clean the commutator and then do a continuity test. Okay, time for the scary part. So that's a really good sign right there. We know power is flowing through the coils. It doesn't guarantee that this armature is good because, you know, if two wires are shorted, power could still be flowing in a way it shouldn't, but that's a very good sign. So we'll just get all this cleaned up. We'll try to put the motor all back together, and then if it works, maybe we'll do some work on the rest of this thing and really try to fix the whole locomotive up. Just got all of this cleaned up, and that's looking a lot better. I'm just going to test the upper coil because I forgot to earlier. Well, now we just need to slowly start putting this whole thing back together, I guess. Seems to be rolling nicely. So I think what I want to do now is just try to get this wire soldered back into place, and then we'll take this thing over to the track. I'm not going to throw this in the locomotive, but we'll put the wheels on the track and see if we can get the motor just to spin over. Okay, let's go take this thing over to the track and see if that motor will turn over under its own power. Alright, here goes something, hopefully. Let's try that again. Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay. Oh, I'm gonna stop that because it's making contact with things, but we do have turnage. That's great. Well, that certainly gives me a bit of optimism. The motor did struggle to start, but it was running fine. It does seem that all of this is turning correctly, so that's good. These could probably turn a little better. This part is probably not even necessary, but we'll do it for the heck of it. Yeah, those are all turning nicely now. Just went out a bunch of these parts with a Scotch-Brite and then gave them the Rust-Oleum treatment just to try to get ahead of any future rust problems which were already starting to occur on some of these parts. So I think at this point we can start to reassemble this locomotive. I'll start with the motor and then we'll start adding on the trucks and everything else. I also checked the drive shaft and worm gear and everything there seemed to be completely dry, so we'll hit that up with some thick grease here and try to protect that from stripping out. Alright, so I think at this point we've got this thing mostly back together. We'll just try to throw the shell back on the whole unit, and then we'll take it over to the track and see if it runs. Alright, well, looks like we got this thing all back together. Let's take it over to the track and see if it actually works or not. Let's see what happens. Oh! Yeah! She's a runner! Well, it derailed, but we saw it move. I'm gonna get these cars off the main line and we'll see if we can let this thing rip. Let's see what this 40s Aero technology has up its sleeve. Oh, this thing's a flyer. That seems pretty damn good to me. Let's see if it will go the other way. Right on! That is so awesome. I'm so glad that this thing's running again. Let's see if it can haul some cargo now. Quickly check out the low speed here. Seems pretty darn smooth, and I'm pretty sure I saw a sound box when we took this thing apart too, so we'll test that out. Yeah, still works. That's awesome. Sound-equipped locomotives from the late 40s. That's pretty cool in my opinion. Well, I've got to say, I'm very impressed with this locomotive. A little bit of cleaning and relubrication, and just like that, it's back up and running for the first time in probably many years, if not a couple decades. And I didn't have to replace any parts. I did throw in a couple new pieces of wiring, but other than that, everything in this locomotive is original, and still dishing it out after 70 plus years. I think that is a real testament to just how tough these things are. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed, and with that, I'd like to thank you all so much for watching.